ああ、魂なんてものはなくて、意識は何の意味もなく生まれて、ただ消えていく。人生は果てしない徒労だ。でも、全くの無意味だからこそ、生きているこの瞬間、その輝きは尊いと思うんだ。それはその時、その人だけのものだからね。
Sonny Boy is a mystery anime that was released in 2021. When I stumbled upon it, I was confused because it said it was an award-winning anime, and yet I never heard about it. Once I started watching the anime, it became clear why it was in this state. This was an anime that was confusing. It took me 2 watches and going back to watch a couple of scenes just to comprehend my own meaning of it. So it's understandable if no one talks about it, since people really only have enough time for one watch, and also it's easier to comprehend the anime if you watch all 12 episodes back to back, which is something not a lot of people have the luxury of doing. Now, you're probably wondering why this anime is so hard to comprehend. Well, let me give you a rough outline of the plot first.
ねえ、それ楽しい？
え？
そうやって一日中そこで寝っ転がってるの楽しい？
まあ、楽しいよ。
When you first start watching the show, we see a group of ordinary high school students who have been transported with their school into a black void. Every 24 hours, the school resets back to its original state, making food for them so they don't starve. Also, the students each gain their own unique power in this world. One hears a voice that tells him the future, another can bend reality at his will. Everyone's power is random, and yet the main thing in everyone's mind is why. It's a mystery why only a select few of students went adrift in this void, and why do they have these powers? At the end of episode 1, Nagara and Nozomi jump into the void, causing them and the others to be transported to a different world entirely, a world with one island and an infinitely expanding ocean. Sonny Boy never really stops to, well, explain. It might explain why one thing is happening, but at the same time it adds more information, making your brain even more confused. What the kids learn is that they are adrift in a different dimension, a different universe with infinitely connecting worlds. The difference between this universe and their own is that in this one, they don't age. Everyone lives forever with their own unique power, and outside of the island that they started on, time moves differently. 1 year in their universe is 1,000 years in this universe, for the most part at least, because every world has its own time system. Another difference between their world and this one being that there are random doorways to other worlds that each have their own unique rules. This is something that captivated me. Each world, people's powers, conversations, and animation style would change to best fit the feeling or mood of what's happening. One guy can invent anything he wants, but they chose to make his inventions all stickers looking like mere colored pencil drawings. Sonny Boy had some of the most unique animation choices I've ever seen in anime, and that got me asking why no one talks about it. This anime is actually deep. I mean, it's confusing, things don't make sense, and yet it left me questioning my own existence at times. Why is that?
君っち何も知らないんだね。さては漂流初心者だな。
初心者？
Sonny Boy is a very open-ended anime. Every second you're told one thing to interpret. The anime doesn't like explaining. If the characters don't understand the world they're in, then why would you? This is helped by the fact that there are no monologues in the show. Yes, that moment when anime characters stop to explain everything to you, the viewer, is not here. You end up having to interpret how characters are feeling and what they are thinking based on their actions, which in turn makes them feel more like real people. It feels like you're no better than them. You are right there with them, trying to figure out this world. As for the main message of the anime, well, yet again, that is left up to the viewer. The author of Sonny Boy said at the end of the day, the story is about Nagara growing up. But you can interpret it however you want. There are many messages you can take home from Sonny Boy. There are many different characters you can relate to, and depending on which one you gravitate towards, the meaning you get can be totally different from others. And that's the beauty of Sonny Boy. Once I got to the 9th episode, I realized something that was happening that I didn't notice up until now. Every episode has its own message, and each episode the message gets more and more deep and philosophical. In the first episode, some of the characters start making rules and vote for a leader. At the end of the episode, the leader let the power go to his head and was punished for it, since the rules of this world were not allowed to be broken by anyone. The message being that no one is above rules. If rules are made to keep people in check, then once one thinks they are above the rules, then they become meaningless. In the later episodes, we meet someone who is in a duel with a clone of himself. They have been fighting for years in an endless fight every day, trying to prove that one of them is better than the other. After some influence from another character, he is finally able to kill his clone. Now, remember, he was fighting this clone for thousands of years. So after he beat him, he decided to kill himself, since he didn't know what to do next. For thousands of years, the only thing he ever thought about was how he could beat himself. He had no drive to do anything else. The message being that being better than someone else is pointless at the end of the day. To get back to the mystery of the anime, why did they ever get set adrift in a different dimension?
今この世界の存在を脅かす者がいる。それは戦争だ。君に戦争を止めてほしいんだ。彼を殺してほしい。
You're told different theories to why they went adrift, and eventually you figure out the true reason why they are here. After the class meets someone that has been adrift for 5,000 years, he tells them that their school principal, is God. I know what you're thinking, but why? The principal is God, and he decided to set these students adrift. And it turns out that they're nothing but copies of their actual selves, as they eventually see themselves back in the original universe. As one of the kids said, this entire universe and us being in it is just God rolling dice. I tried thinking so hard about what that meant. I kept watching Sonny Boy thinking that they were gonna find out why they were here. I kept theorizing. Maybe they were chosen. Maybe there is supposed to be a big underlying message. And well, there is. This is the meaning I drew from the anime. The entire universe they're in is nothing more than a dice roll. It was just a random thing that God decided to do out of nothing. There was no mystery to be solved, since the reason they were sent adrift was for no particular reason. It was just meaningless. Them being adrift, getting powers, living forever, and each world having its own rules. It was all random, with no reason for existing. I was blown away thinking that maybe there was some underlying message, but even in the messages of every episode, there is only one conclusion. Life, and all parts of it, have no meaning. This is why I said this show is not for everyone, since it makes you question life. And yet, what is there to question, since it has no meaning? One of the characters, Rajhani, said,
ああ、魂なんてものはなくて、意識は何の意味もなく生まれて、ただ消えていく。人生は果てしない徒労だ。
Later on in the show, the characters learn that the only reason they find meaning in living is because of their conscience. And the thing that kills a conscience is time. In the last episodes, we get to see someone who has been adrift for a long time. He has lived for so long that he is nothing more than a shell. His conscience slowly faded over time, and all that's left now is a shape of what he truly believed. Even after death, his beliefs held strong. Nagara and his friend Mizuho were the only ones that ever left the drift. The way they return really doesn't make sense either. They just walk through space between dimensions. It has no meaning. And even though they can return home now, the thing his classmates so desperately wanted before, none of them care to go. They live in an endless world with experiences that change them as people. Even if they do go back, they are going back to a lesser version of themselves. They're going back to someone who isn't them. Another reason why they don't want to go back is since they have no motivation. In the world they live now, they live forever, so what's the reason to do anything since you'll always have time later? I never really thought about time like this before. In our everyday lives, time is what motivates us to work. We only have a limited time to graduate, a limited time to get that job, and a limited time to retire. That timer is what pushes us forward and can easily ruin one's life. If you focus too much on the future, then you'll miss out on what's happening right in front of you. Sure, once we're born, we have a limited time we can do things. So while that timer is running out, why don't we enjoy every second of it rather than enjoying the last hours alone?
さくら、じゃあね。私も行くからね。
In the last episodes of Sonny Boy, their one friend Rajhani, who helps them return, decides to stay since he didn't want to return to a world that had a version of himself that wasn't even close to who he was now. He was no longer homesick. He decided this after going on a journey by himself for 2,000 years and seeing many different worlds, all filled with an infinite amount of concepts and ideas. What Rajhani said to his friends when they were leaving really stuck with me. He said, "Life is meaningless, but every once in a while something cool happens, and that's enough to get me by." This way of thinking is how I'd like to live my life. Everything we do as humans has no point at the end of the day, so why do we care about the things we do? We are the ones that give life meaning. So whenever you do something because you're angry or jealous, just remember that you're the one that gave reason to why you're mad. We have such little time when we are alive, so live enjoying it. Stop being ungrateful since your life isn't meaningless. You just never chose to give it a meaning. It's not others that give your life purpose. It's your job to make that purpose. We exist by chance and live by choice. So please, enjoy it. If you haven't watched Sonny Boy yet, please go and do so. Then probably watch it a second time and maybe even a third. I'm not lying, you'll probably need to. It's that complex. Sonny Boy is a once-in-a-lifetime anime and one of the best anime of all time. Or at least that's the meaning I gave it. Also, subscribe if you want to see more of my content and like the video if you enjoyed it. Finally, I hope you all have a good rest of your day. This is Spruce, signing off.